I'ma just come out and say it. I wanna know. It's 2025 already. Where is your manga at? You say you make manga, where is your manga at? I'm calling everybody out right now. Where is your manga at? I don't know. It's 2025. I don't know where it is. I don't see it. You don't see it. But you could start that journey right now. Right now. Hello, everybody. I still don't know what to call this community. Comment down below if you got a name, a suggestion, or whatever. But my name is Gigimurakami. I am an Ignatz-nominated horror manga artist and illustrator, best known for my supernatural horror manga Resenter, which is currently published as a one-shot on Viz. And I am here to let you know 2025 is the time for you to begin your manga journey. So let's just jump right into it. It's gonna be a little off the cuff, you know, another podcasty-ish kind of conversation. A little bit of B-roll in the background, so put your headphones on, grab a snack. This may be a long one, it may not be, but I'm gonna be talking and trying to get you to see why you can begin your mangaka journey now and how to do it. So, number one, you can make manga. Manga is being made more and more by foreign mangaka each year. Manga has become very, very globally recognized and globally beloved. There's no reason why you can't just jump in and become a participant in that instead of just a spectator. Manga thrives on creators creating, you know? And because it's so global, manga is for everybody. It is not just like, you don't have to be Japanese, you don't have to be from Japan, you don't have to like have a certain experience or a certain bloodline or it's really not that deep. It's really not that deep. And the people the purists who try to make it seem like it's that deep, I'm suspicious of them. It's giving Orientalism, low key, high key. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, to be honest. But yes, manga is for everybody. You can make manga. You can start that journey now and you have support. There are plenty of foreign mangaka that are out there all over the place, not even just in the US. I am from the US, so I mostly know what's happening here, but I've traveled abroad and I've seen foreign mangaka who are out in Spain, people who are producing their own works with characters of color, just all types of stuff, you know what I mean? I saw Lolita-inspired manga when I was out in Spain at Manga Barcelona, which is like so dope. And it was a fully published manga with a publisher whose work was published alongside Japanese mangaka. Manga is for everybody. It's global. Nobody cares about how you feel about that. The fact of the matter is that it is global. Manga is for everybody. And regardless if you're Japanese or not, if you live in Japan or not, if you're published by a Japanese publisher or not, or if you're self-publishing, you can begin your manga journey and create manga. In addition to that, the supplies to create manga is also everywhere. It's widely available more now than ever, to be honest. With globalization happening, you can get Japanese manga supplies if you work traditional analog like I do, or you can get Japanese programs to work on manga digitally, or any program, to be honest. You have Procreate, there's Medibang, although I think Medibang is a Japanese program, but it doesn't matter where the program is coming from. You can use these programs. You can use these tools, either analog or digital, to create manga. You have more access now than ever before. Next thing, how to create manga, correct? How does one create manga? So getting into the supplies of it, you can start analog like I do, which is probably the cheapest option just to like start. You don't need Japanese manuscript paper. You don't need a G-pen to start. You don't need any of these things. What you really, really need, pencil, paper, a black gel pen or ballpoint pen if you want to practice your inking skills. Or a paintbrush. You could use a paintbrush to ink. Any of these things. You can use any type of inking equipment. Even like there are like calligraphy pens that basically do the same thing as G pens. The grip and the function of the pen is basically the same, but there are some things that are different. The strokes are different. The amount of pressure that you need to apply is different. It does you do have to get into the weeds with your tools when you're working analog. I will say that. But the point of the matter is that the tools are still available for you to use to create your manga. You can create it on computer paper. You can go out and buy professional manuscript paper. You can use copy paper. Doesn't matter. You can create a sketchbook. You can buy, they have these like staple bound sketchbooks that are like 30 pages or something like that. You can write and create a whole manga in just that, just to start. Just to start. We're not talking about award-winning stuff. We're not talking about serialization. We're not talking about, the big three. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just to start. You have to start somewhere. If you are not super duper into analog, working analog, and you just gotta have a Control Z, you gotta have an undo, that's totally fine. Digital tools are also available. There's iPads. There are free drawing programs that you can use. There's Krita, there's Medibang. If you want paid programs, there's Procreate, there's Clip Studio Paint, there is Photoshop. I know we're not messing with Adobe these days, but I still use Photoshop. I don't pay for it. It's paid for, I just don't pay for it. But there are programs that you can use, digital programs that you can use to create your manga. Tablets are more affordable than ever, drawing tablets, not like iPad tablets, although you can use iPads, obviously, to make manga too. The point is that digital supplies has been more accessible than ever recently. New programs are coming out all the time. There are updates coming out all the time to improve these tools. And especially when it comes to working on backgrounds for manga, it is insane the amount of tools that they have out there, and just the innovation of tools that are already out there that are not necessarily meant for manga, but using them for manga, for backgrounds and for assets, all types of different things. There's no reason not to start your manga. Begin the journey now because the tools are accessible, it's there. There's also tutorials on how to make manga. There's programs like Manben, Naoki Urasawa's Manben, where you can see the process of professional Japanese mangaka working on their manga. You can use their processes. I've done that personally myself, and that has been helpful to experiment and see how I want my process to look like going forward. Just structure my process to start, just to begin, because that's what this whole thing is about, beginning your manga journey in 2025. There's also books available, like I mentioned it in another video before, but there is Manga in Theory and Practice. Let me whip this bad boy out because I actually have it by my desk. Manga in Theory and Practice by Hirohiko Araki, who is, obviously the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He has been creating manga for a very, very, very long time, longer than some of us have even been born. And this book is a wealth of knowledge. Really good book on how to work on manga. There's also Shonen Jump has the Shonen Jump Guide to Making Manga. I forgot what the title was for a second, but you have this book. There's also Scott McCloud. I know Scott McCloud is not a manga artist, but because manga and comics is basically the same thing, the stuff that he teaches in his books, understanding comics, I have them. Ooh, I have them right here. Look, this new little reset up with my office is a good idea. All my reference books are right by my desk. That's fantastic. So making comics, this is not necessarily a guide on how to make quote unquote manga. Manga and comics, functionally, it's the same thing. Anything that you can get your hands on that is a good resource on how to make comics, it's the same great resource on how to create manga. And the best thing is that Scott McCloud, all his books are comic panels. It's easy to read. It's easy to read. Great stuff. Great stuff. Making Comics, fantastic book. Definitely recommend it. And then he also has Understanding Comics for people who are really, really new into manga and comics and maybe may not understand functionally how they work. That especially includes people who are getting into manga and comics, specifically manga, because of anime. Anime and manga are not the same thing. They are not synonymous with one another. You have to stop saying anime when you mean manga, and you have to stop saying manga when you mean anime. These are two separate mediums. They move separate. They do two different things, two different strengths, two completely different things. Let us please get that correct. If you are going to start your journey as a mangaka this year and you're going to start working on manga, understand the vocabulary. Anime is animation, manga is comics. It's two different things. And so the way that animation works, it does not always work the same way for manga. I know a lot of people who are aspiring manga artists are really into, obviously, shonen anime fight scenes. Like, oh, did you see that fight? That shit was so crazy. Blah, blah. Like, I know that that's kind of like the crowd. And I know a lot of those manga artists really like stuff by like Yusuke Murata, who is like a fantastic draftsman, like fantastic. And his stuff jumps off the page and looks alive. It looks like an animation. It looks like it's moving. That is Yusuke Murata. He has been doing this far longer than you have been doing this. Your focus and your priority right now needs to be doing what? Put the pen on the paper and understand how to tell a story in these boxes. Don't think about animation. Don't think about Yusuke Murata. Don't think about One Punch Man. Don't think about Jujutsu Kaisen. Don't think about anime. Don't think about the anime fight scenes and how, you're gonna make them. No. That is for people who have experience. They got their XP points. That is not you. If you have not started doing this yet, that is not you. What you need this. You need this, and you need this. You need to understand how to tell a story in sequential order in order to understand how to get on a level of a Yusuke Murata where your panels are so fluid that it looks like animation. Until you get there, it's respectfully, it's not going to be doing what you think it's going to be doing. All that being said though, there are resources. There are so many resources. There's so many resources. You have the Viz Manga app. There's also a manga that they have in there called, How to Make Manga the Shonen Jump Way, I think it's called, which is also another guide on how to create manga. I'm actually in the middle of reading that. It's actually really funny. The manga artist that worked on that, I think he mostly does like gag manga, like comedy kind of like stuff. So it's actually really funny, but that's another resource. It's $2.99 or something like that to get the app. I think it's the Shonen Jump app and not the Viz Manga app, because those are two different apps. I don't know. Comment down below whichever one it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but whichever one, it's not very expensive and you have a resource there on how to do it. But this resource is also just as good because they show how to create names, which are storyboards. It's the Japanese word for storyboards. Name. They show you how to do that in this book as well. I think all four of these are fantastic works that you should absolutely get, but you have access to it. There's also videos, like I said. You can check out channels like White Manga. You can check out My Mangaka Life, Lisbeth Jimenez. Those are two people that I really went to the first time I started, like really sat down and was like, I want to create manga. I want to be a mangaka. Those are the channels that I went to. And I actually know Lisbeth Jimenez IRL, but she don't got time to like answer all my questions, so I just watched her videos. But there's also channels like Draw Like a Sir. There's Doki, I forget the name of the channel. I'm gonna put it up here. But plenty of channels. Like I said, Naoki Urasawa's Manben is probably one of the best sources for people wanting to know how like other Japanese mangaka create their works. And that is like well known and popular. There are also other more obscure ways to get that information. If you have a slight bit of like Japanese knowledge, or like if you're trying to like learn Japanese and like don't mind like trying to look stuff up in Japanese, there are a ton of YouTube Japanese manga artists who are on YouTube who create tutorials and explain how to draw manga better, and also explain like, how to create storyboards, how to create panels. One of them being obviously I think the most popular who is here is probably Ainio Asano. He has a channel. Naoki Urasawa also has a channel. This is gonna kill me. Hiro Mashima? Am I kidding? Oh my God, I forget this man's name. The mangaka for, oh my gosh, he was just in New York City too. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think Mashima Sensei, Hiro Mashima. The mangaka for Fairy Tail also has a YouTube channel. I'm so sorry. But he also has a YouTube channel that is where he talks about making manga. He talks about his schedule, talks about creating manga quickly. Also a really good source. And there are other mangaka who are not as famous. Their channels are all in Japanese. Another mangaka too is who I've talked about before in the past, his channel. He is a little more, he's in that upper, you know, he has manga that's been published. He had an anime that was published. So he's in that upper tier mangaka that I mentioned earlier. But there are more obscure manga artists, obscure for like the US. I don't know any of their work, so I'm assuming they're more obscure. But they also have channels too, where they provide tutorials, and they, you know, show you, they will bring in viewers' work and they will review them on the channel so that they can like correct little mistakes and stuff that they make as examples of like what to do, what not to do. There's also there's a non-Japanese channel called Learn to Draw Manga that is like a school, and they do like, you know, they do critiques and stuff online, and they are a school, they have a school. So if we're talking about beginning your journey as a mangaka this year, just to begin, just to get started, it takes some research. It takes some work. This is all stuff that I had to do. I brought the books. You see the highlighters. I did the reading. Like you have to read. You got to study. Look at the, you see all that pink? I did the reading. I know what I'm talking about. In order to feel comfortable to make manga and to, without a doubt, have confidence in creating the manga, especially as a beginner, you need to be well-informed. Study. If this is something you really want to do, read your books, go through the resources, check out the YouTube channels, study from the people who've been doing this longer than you, take their advice. It'll make you a much better manga artist. So there is that. Okay, so where to show off your manga. So let's say you already finished up, you have like a first chapter, or you have like a one shot or whatever, and you're ready to show the world, right? How do you do that? You can always self-publish. I started off doing self-published work. A lot of people tend to do self-published work. You can set up a Patreon. You can put your stuff up online. You can put your stuff up on your social media. If you have like an art blog or something or whatever, you can put it up there, anywhere where people can read it. In its most minimal effort, you could even set up like a Google Drive folder with your manga in it and link it out to people to read that way. You can do that. You can also submit your work to manga contests. That is one way that you can show to the world that like you're making manga and like get readers. There's a ton of manga contests. I did write a list, and I don't even think that that's all of them, but there's the silent manga audition. Kadokawa just started a new contest that is in the process right now. I'm currently filming this early February, and the deadline is at the end of this month, but it's the Wordless World Manga Contest. There's that. There's the Jump Tezuka contest, Kyoto International contest, Japan International contest. Webtoons just dropped a contest at the end of last year, I believe it was. There's also a weekly Jump manga show. That's something that I heard of. I haven't looked into it too much, but that is something that I've heard of. But there's a bunch of contests that you could submit your work to, in addition to self-publishing or instead of self-publishing. There's also publishers. You could send your work to publishers in the US and Japan. Typically with the Japanese publishers, when I say Japanese publishers, I'm speaking more about like the process of getting your work published in Japan. So not Japanese publishers that are in the US working and looking for foreign mangaka talent, but like specifically in Japan. So like where your manga would be read in Japanese, it would be first published in Japanese. Typically how that process works is your work is first put into a contest. There's a bunch of partners and people, sponsors that are involved in the contest, and that also includes like the magazine. So, you know, depending on who wins, you can have your work printed in their weekly or monthly magazine, depending on the magazine. And I believe even if you don't win and you get an honorable mention, depending on the magazine, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that you get like a shout out, like your work gets shouted out. So that's one way to do things. Another way is if you want to work with a Japanese publisher and you're in the US and maybe you don't really want to do the contest, you can also submit to Viz's one-shot program. That's one way where you can work with a Japanese publishing company and have the potential of getting your work serialized. There's also Nakama Press just popped up on the scene. To my knowledge, they are looking for foreign mangaka, but they're still new, right? And overall, creating manga in traditional publishing, there's like a lot going on there. It's still like the Wild Wild West, as they say. There's still ways to carve out standard practices there. So that being said, it is a rockier road dealing with specifically American traditional publishing because I'm an American, this is where I'm based at. But there are some publishers that are like willing to work with you. Like if your work is good, and despite the fact that like if your work is rooted in manga and like that is more so what you know as opposed to your work looking like and being rooted in American comics. So there are still like publishers that will work with you. And to my knowledge, Nakama Press is one of them. I think Mad Cave may also be one of them, but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. And of course, there's also the Manga Plus Creators program for all of you shonen people. Even though I think you can do, it's not just shonen, but the shonen, you know who you are. Y'all be talking about the Manga Plus Creators program. But yeah, some other bonus places where you can put your work up is there's webtoons. I know that's not always a super popular option for aspiring manga artists, but that is an option. There's also a ton of digital manga publishers, one of them being Azuki. Another one is, I believe, Kamiki. I'm not 100% sure if you can publish with them. I feel like you can. I know the founders of Azuki, and I spoke with somebody from Kamiki years ago. I feel like you may be able to publish with them. Don't quote me on that. But because it's a digital manga publisher, I feel like you probably can. Like, because things are digital, it's not too much overhead to pay for. Like, you might be able to get away with that. I don't know. But there's options there. There are options on where to get your work seen. And at the end of the day, you can always self-publish. Okay, so in the video that I made, why now's the best time to become a mangaka, which I will have it around here somewhere, and I will also have it in the description box below. But I mentioned in the video why now's the best time to become a mangaka, that a lot of times, like self-published work, like people are getting really high readership numbers. The views are getting they're getting really high up there. Like people who are not tied to any publisher, like, even in stuff with like Webtoons Canvas where they're not like the originals, they're not like in line with the publisher, the big publisher in any way, like people are getting crazy views and crazy readership. This is not something that is like, that's always been the case. Like, because of the access to the internet and because of how global and international things are and because of the reach of the internet, you can self-publish stuff and gain a crazy amount of readers. Like even for me with my, some of the one-shots that I've done, I have gone viral on Twitter several times just publishing my stuff and then letting people read it for free. So it's like totally possible that if you are not going with a publisher or if you're not entering any of these contests, that you could absolutely still gain readership. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of marketing because it's just going to be you. You have no team. There's no institution or overhead or publisher that's supporting you. It's just you. So you have to market your work. And some people may not want to do that, but if you are willing to do that, it's absolutely an option. So, just keep that in mind that when it comes to where you want to show your manga off at, you have options. You have options, and that's fantastic. For a lot of what we've talked about, I think the full theme of this video is that you have options. So begin your manga journey now. Become a mangaka this year. Start. So some good practices that you want to keep in mind as you start your journey of becoming a mangaka this year. Create a name, a storyboard. Create a name. Create a name. I don't know why people think they are like manga gods and that they can just create manga without creating storyboards to like lay their manga out in. I don't understand that. Your manga is not better. It's really not. It is structurally not great. Like it's just, I think it's a very rare situation where somebody can just create a manga. They have no storyboards. They have no name. It's just like, they can just poop one out and like, it's fantastic. That is likely not you. Don't think that that's you. It's just the odds of that being you is just not you. So please create storyboards, create a name for your manga. The reason why names, storyboards, help you to lay out your manga properly, meaning it helps with readability. It helps with panel layout. If you like horror manga, you like the page turn, it helps with that. You like shonen manga, you like the fights, you want the fights to be fluid, make a name. Make a name. It helps you also plan your pages better. If you're going to have like certain twists, certain reveals, certain things happening, certain dialogue like you have to make sure that stuff is planned out ahead of time. If you just jump into the final stage, it's gonna be like word vomit, like all over the place. Nobody wants to read an incoherent story. So please, 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 for the love of God, make a name. Make a name. Another thing also, when you are working with Japanese publishers, so especially for the people who want to do the Viz One Shot program, please listen out. You will be making a name. You cannot send final pages. It does not work that way. A friend of mine, Aki Bright, we had a conversation about this, and something that he told me, which I will never forget, and I'm gonna pass it down to you, is to get very, very comfortable making names. That is like people look at manga and they think that the skill lies in the creation, the finalization of the manga. According to Aki, and I'm gonna take his word for it, especially since working with Viz, focus on the name. Become proficient at creating names really quickly and that flow really well. That is your holy grail. So again, for the love of God, make a name. Make a name. Storyboard your manga, make a name for your manga. Thank you. Another good practice is, if it's possible, to join like a mangaka group where you can share ideas and get feedback for your manga. Your name, because we're making names first, remember? So for your name, your storyboards, a group where you can share ideas and get feedback on your name. But yeah, something that I heard from Sasaki-san, my editor at Viz, was that in Japan, a lot of the mangaka know each other. Everybody, it's a very communal space. Everybody knows each other. Everybody works with each other. People's levels are at a higher level. There are more professional leveled artists the non-professional level artists because it's so communal. It's very community based. If you've seen Bakuman and you see the camaraderie between the mangaka who are competing with each other in, you know, Weekly Shonen Jump, you see that. You see that in the actual like work itself. And according to Sasaki-san, that's true. Like, and not in my experience, but like in seeing and hearing some of the stories from like the other Japanese mangaka and artists that I know, that seems to be very true. Like a lot of people they just know each other already. Whereas here in the West, specifically in the US, for some reason people think that like you can't really befriend other manga artists, or that you can't really like join. Like it's always like, it's very individualistic. It's very like me, and I'm gonna stay away, or like I need to focus on this and do it by myself. And having the process of working on a manga and working with a Japanese publisher and an American publisher, it just doesn't work that way. Like you don't work on things by yourself. Mangaka do not work on their stories by themselves. They absolutely do not. They have help from everybody. Everybody. You have people who are like reviewing their name. You have people who are helping with backgrounds. You have people who are putting an input on like character designs and putting an input on story beats. If you watch Manben, you see that happening. There are situations where there are mangaka who do work on their stuff by themselves, but again, because of the communal nature like that mangaka have in Japan, that is still going to play out differently than a lone wolf manga artist in the US. So that being said, join a community, create community with other mangaka that you know. You know, if you and your homie are both aspiring mangaka, make friends with more aspiring mangaka, regardless of if they're in the US or what genre of manga that they work on, whether it's shonen, shoujo, josei, or seinen. It doesn't matter. Like, these are all creators. Y'all are all doing the same job, and you can all learn from each other. Like somebody who's been really great at that has been Monitor Comics. Shout out to Monitor. But I have been following Monitor Comics for a while, long before he knew of me. I knew of him, and I was following his stuff even back when he was publishing with a certain publisher. And I really loved like the communal aspect that he had for creating manga with other mangaka and like discussing manga and talking about that kind of stuff. I feel like there are probably other mangaka on YouTube doing the same thing. I haven't seen it as much, or like I feel like with Monitor, like I really see it. Like I joined his Discord, and like I really see that. Like people are trying to like get their stuff done. Unfortunately, it is hard to like maintain those types of communities, like Discords and stuff like that, because I also have a Discord. It's not open to the public. I would like to open to the public and like kind of have that same big camaraderie kind of thing going on. But you know, if there were more people in person, I think that would also help. But I'm gonna just say this, we have an issue in the US where we have too many manga artists who are kind of like lone wolfing it and like not sharing feedback, not sharing skills, or when feedback is shared or skills are shared, specifically when feedback is shared, it's not like, there's like resistance there. There's like, oh, well, you don't understand my story, or like there's resistance. So that comes with the like lone shark, like the lone wolf kind of like environment that you keep yourself in. Anyway, that being said, those are some two good practices that I think you should follow through with. And that also includes me. I don't try to be a lone wolf. I'm actually pretty busy juggling a lot of stuff, but y'all know me. Like if you follow my Twitch streams in the past, I love community. That's why I made my Discord in the first place. The problem with it is like, you never know who you're gonna get, and like you have to watch out for people to make sure that like nobody is like, to make sure that the group is like, the integrity of the group is maintained, if you get what I'm saying. And that's hard. Like it just is. So that being said though, I still try to like be in community with other aspiring manga artists and like comic creators, specifically people who do like who self-publish comics. And you know, I'm in the Cartoonist Cooperative. Like I try to branch out and I'm also trying to like talk to aspiring comic artists and like give advice. That's also part of the reason why I'm trying to do more of these like advice-based videos. I do not want to really do tutorials. I feel like I'm not good at explaining how to draw. A lot of my stuff is instinctual. I've been drawing a long time with not a ton of like structured knowledge on that stuff. So I don't know how to like properly teach that, instruct that thing. So what I do know how to explain is advice on how to do these things, because this is stuff that I just started with, and like I'm learning more and more as I go. So it is a lot easier to give advice on certain topics like this and some of the other topics that I want to talk about that include like storyboarding and some of the writing stuff and all this other stuff. But yeah, that includes me too, bro. So as we're beginning, you know, the manga journey, becoming a mangaka in 2025, less lone wolves out there. We need less lone wolves, more community. I think that was everything. I did a lot of talking in this video, more talking than I intended to do. Thank you so much for watching this video. What did you think? I mentioned it earlier, but I am trying to do a few more like advice podcasty-ish kind of like videos like this, where I'm offering advice, I'm talking about my experiences and a way to help people overcome their fear of like starting their own manga. A lot of people have DM'd me saying like that they are an aspiring manga artist and how did I do this and how did I do that, and trying to get feedback on stuff. And I just don't have time to like message everybody individually. So I wanted to start bringing up those issues and addressing that stuff publicly on my channel. So let me know if you like these types of videos. Comment down below what could have been better, or what kind of videos you'd like to see me make that are in this kind of topic of like advice videos and talking about career and like as a mangaka and like that kind of stuff, right? So let me know that down below. Thank you again so much. Please subscribe to the channel, follow your girl on my socials. Please, 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 thank you. And share this with an aspiring mangaka, because it's 2025 and where is your manga at? The world is ready to read it. Thank you so much. I have to go. I appreciate you. Peace.